A man may laugh with many, share fleeting nights with a few, but he only unveils his deepest truths to the one he can't imagine losing. Love isn't always a roar. It often lives in the quiet whispers spoken when no one else is listening. Welcome back to Journey After 60. Over years of watching hearts break and heal, I've cracked the code on 5 things a man only shares with his person, whether he's ready to admit you're his person or not. We are always hunting for grand gestures and big declarations, but real love, it hides in the shadows of vulnerability, in those sacred moments when his walls come down. Before we dive deep into these profound moments of connection, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe, because understanding the language of the heart never goes out of style. Now, let's explore what he shares first when he truly trusts you. His deepest fears about the future. If a man opens up about what keeps him awake at night, his uncertainties, his worries about aging, career, family, or failing to live up to his own expectations, you've entered a part of his heart few people ever see. Most men mask these fears with humor, confidence, or distraction, because showing vulnerability can feel like exposing a weakness. You see, when a man shares his deepest fears about the future with you, he's revealing something far more intimate than his hopes or dreams. He's showing you the shadows that keep him awake at 3 a.m., the worries that he carries like stones in his chest. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Yet, for mature men, the anticipation of what might happen, particularly around aging, health, and maintaining dignity, can be more challenging than facing present difficulties. Research from the Harvard Study of Adult Development reveals that one of men's greatest fears as they age is losing their sense of purpose and becoming dependent. Dr. Robert Waldinger's longitudinal studies show that men who can share these fears with a trusted partner experience significantly better mental health and relationship satisfaction. When a man tells you his fears about the future, he's not asking you to fix them or reassure them away. He's asking you to witness them, to sit with him in the uncertainty, to love him not despite his fears, but alongside them. He's saying, "I trust you to see me as both strong and scared, capable and concerned." When he shares these fears with you, it's not just conversation, it's trust. It's a silent admission that he sees you as someone safe enough to hold the parts of him that are usually hidden, even from himself. He's revealing his fragility, his hopes, and his private doubts, all of which are usually tucked behind a mask he wears for the world. This is a signal that he values you in a way that transcends casual connection. It means he's considering a future that includes you, not just as a partner, but as a witness to his inner life. When a man entrusts you with these fears, you've reached a level of intimacy most people never experience. When you receive this kind of sharing from a man, you're being invited into his deepest planning and preparation for life's uncertainties. You're being asked to be his partner, not just in joy, but in navigating the profound questions of aging, health, legacy, and meaning. How do you respond when someone shares their deepest fears with you? Your response in these moments shapes whether his heart opens further or closes protectively. But these fears about the future connect to something even more personal, the stories that have shaped him, which we'll explore right. 2. The stories he's never told anyone. 3 years ago, I witnessed something extraordinary. My neighbor James, a quiet man of 61 who'd been divorced for over a decade, was sitting on his porch with Elizabeth, a woman he'd been courting for nearly a year. Their conversation had the quality of confession, of sacred ground being shared. Later, James told me what had happened. For the first time in his life, he had shared the full story of his childhood, not the sanitized version he'd told friends and family, but the raw, unedited truth about growing up with an alcoholic father and the ways it had shaped every relationship he'd ever had. "Vernon," he said, "I told her things I've never even admitted to myself." We carry stories, some beautiful, some painful, some shameful, that we've never fully shared with another human being. These aren't just memories, they're the origin stories of our deepest patterns, our fears, our ways of loving and protecting ourselves. When a man shares these untold stories with you, he's offering you the archaeology of his heart. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But there's a deeper truth here. The stories we've never told anyone often hold the keys to understanding why we love the way we do, why we fear what we fear, and why we've made the choices that have shaped our lives." James's untold story explained so much about his patterns in relationships, his tendency to withdraw when conflict arose, his hypervigilance about alcohol, his deep need for consistency and reliability. But more than explaining his challenges, sharing this story allowed Elizabeth to understand the profound strength it had taken for him to become the man he was despite his difficult beginnings. These aren't just personal histories he's sharing. They're the secret explanations for why he does what he does, why certain things trigger him, why he responds to love and conflict in specific ways. He's giving you the decoder ring for understanding his heart. Elizabeth's response was transformative. She didn't try to heal James's childhood or fix his past. Instead, she said, "Thank you for trusting me with your story. It helps me understand the incredible strength you've shown in becoming who you are." She honored both his pain and his resilience. When a man shares his untold stories with you, he's not just sharing information, he's sharing the raw material of his identity. He's saying, "This is how I became who I am. This is why I love the way I love. These are the experiences that shaped my heart." Think about the stories in your own life that you've never fully shared. How would it feel to trust someone with those sacred, difficult, or formative experiences? Leave your thoughts in the comments. When you receive such stories from a man, you're being entrusted with the building blocks of his soul. This kind of story sharing often connects to something even more vulnerable, the dreams he thought life had passed by. 3. The dreams he thought he'd buried. There's a quiet sorrow that lives in every man's heart. The dreams he once chased but set aside. Maybe it was a career he abandoned, a passion he didn't pursue, or a life he imagined but never built. Most of the time, these dreams stay hidden, locked away behind responsibility, fear, or self-doubt. When a man shares these buried dreams with you, it's not just nostalgia, it's vulnerability. He's showing you the parts of himself that are raw, unfinished, and deeply personal. These are the hopes he thought the world had told him to forget. But in your presence, he dares to remember them again. This kind of sharing is profound. It's an invitation for you to witness his inner life, to see not only who he is today, but who he still longs to become. And it signals a rare trust. He believes you won't laugh, dismiss, or belittle these dreams. You've become a keeper of the parts of him that even he sometimes doubts. Men, especially those of us who've lived through decades of responsibility, duty, and practical decisions, often carry buried dreams like treasure chests hidden in the depths of our souls. These aren't just abandoned hobbies or career paths we didn't take. They're the expressions of who we truly are beneath all the roles we've played. The ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "Nothing is permanent, except change." Yet many of us reach midlife believing that change is no longer possible, that dreams deferred are dreams denied forever. When a man shares his buried dreams with you, he's not just sharing fantasy, he's sharing his authentic self, the part of him that pure responsibility and societal expectations couldn't quite kill. What made Michael's sharing so sacred was this. He wasn't just telling Grace about a cabin. He was revealing that in her presence, he felt safe enough to resurrect the dreamer within himself. He was saying, "You make me remember who I am beneath all the roles I've played. You make me believe it's not too late to become more fully myself." When a man tells you about his buried dreams, he's often unconsciously asking, "Is it too late? Do you see me as someone who could still become more than what I am? Do you love the dreamer in me, as well as the responsible man you know?" These dreams might be about travel he never took, books he wanted to write, instruments he meant to learn, places he wanted to live, ways he wanted to contribute to the world. They're not just personal fantasies, they're glimpses into his unlived life, the paths not taken that still call to his soul. And just as he entrusts you with the dreams he thought he'd buried, he's also ready to reveal the softer, quieter language of his heart, the ways he loves, hopes, and connects in ways words alone often can't capture. Now we turn to the next, even more vulnerable sharing. 4. The ways he feels inadequate. Late one evening, as autumn painted the world in shades of gold and crimson, my friend David sat across from me, his usual confidence replaced by something I'd rarely seen in our 20-year friendship: raw vulnerability. He'd just returned from dinner with Margaret, a remarkable woman who'd slowly, patiently won his heart over the past year. David said to me, staring into his coffee cup, "Tonight, I told Margaret something I've never admitted to anyone. I told her that sometimes I feel like I'm pretending to be more confident than I really am. That there are moments when I wonder if I'm enough, successful enough, interesting enough, strong enough to deserve someone like her. In that moment, David had shared what might be the most sacred territory of the masculine heart, the places where we feel inadequate, insufficient, or somehow not quite enough. This wasn't self-pity or insecurity. This was the honest acknowledgement of the gap between who we present to the world and who we truly are in our most honest moments. The Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private meditations how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does. Yet, paradoxically, even the strongest men carry an internal measuring stick, constantly evaluating whether they measure up to some invisible standard of masculine adequacy. What makes David's sharing so profound is this. In our culture, men are rarely given permission to acknowledge inadequacy without it being seen as weakness or failure. We're expected to project confidence, competence, and capability at all times. When a man shares his sense of inadequacy with you, he's breaking one of the deepest taboos of masculine socialization. He's saying, "I trust you to see my humanity without losing respect for my strength." Margaret's response was beautiful in its simplicity. She didn't rush to reassure David or list his accomplishments. Instead, she said, "Thank you for trusting me with this. I love that you're human enough to have doubts. It makes your strength even more meaningful to me." She honored his vulnerability without trying to fix it. When a man tells you about his inadequacies, he's not asking you to make him feel better about them. He's asking you to love him anyway. He's asking if you can see his humanity, his fears, his doubts, his imperfections, and still choose him, still respect him, still believe in him. These inadequacies might be about his body as it ages, his financial security, his ability to protect and provide, his sexual confidence, his intellectual capabilities, or his worthiness of love itself. They're the tender spots that he usually armor with competence, humor, or stoicism. When you receive this kind of sharing with grace and acceptance, you're doing something profound. You're creating a space where a man can be fully human rather than just strong. You're allowing him to rest in the relief of being truly known and still deeply loved. How does it feel to know that the strong men in your life also carry these tender places of self-doubt? Your response to such sharing can either deepen intimacy or create distance. Choose wisely. Share this video with someone you care about. It might open a door to understanding that's been waiting for years. And now, having seen the places where he feels vulnerable, let's move to the final truth, the hidden treasures of his heart that he rarely voices, yet waits for someone to truly notice.
5. His vision of growing old together. The ancient poet Rumi wrote, "Love is the bridge between two hearts." But for those of us who've lived long enough to understand the true weight of commitment, love becomes something even more profound. It becomes the promise to be present not just for life's joys, but for its most vulnerable moments. There's a moment, often quiet, that every man secretly imagines but rarely voices about the person he truly loves. It's not just about today or tomorrow or even the next few years. It's about decades down the road, the thought of growing old together, side by side in a partnership that's not only loving but enduring. When a mature man shares this vision with you, he's not just imagining shared hobbies or comfortable routines. It's about trust, hope, and vulnerability all rolled into one. He's inviting you into the deepest corners of his future, the part that's sacred, uncertain, and entirely yours to witness. Imagine growing old with someone is to acknowledge impermanence. It's to confront the reality that life is fleeting, bodies change, and time moves relentlessly forward. Yet, in the presence of the right person, he allows himself to hope anyway. He dares to picture laughter echoing through quiet mornings, hands wrinkled but still clasped, memories shared without the need to prove anything, just being together. Research from the University of Rochester shows that couples who engage in what researchers call future-oriented intimate communication, detailed discussions about their shared vision of aging, experience significantly higher relationship satisfaction and resilience. But for men, sharing this vision requires enormous emotional courage because it acknowledges our own mortality and vulnerability. When a mature man shares his vision of growing old with you, he's not just planning logistics, he's offering you his most profound understanding of what love can be. He's saying, I love you enough to want to walk with you through everything, the sublime and the difficult, the adventurous and the ordinary, the strong times and the fragile ones. This vision might include dreams of grandchildren they'll spoil together, trips they want to take while they can, hobbies they want to pursue, ways they want to serve their community, and, yes, the tender realities of caring for each other as bodies age and health changes. It's love that's been deepened by life experience and purified by the knowledge that time is precious. When you receive this sharing, you're being invited into the most mature form of love possible, a love that chooses partnership not just in romance, but in the full human experience of joy, loss, growth, and grace.
As we come to the end of our time together, let me leave you with this thought from the philosopher Khalil Gibran. And let there be no purpose in your friendship save the deepening of the spirit. Today, we've explored 5 sacred territories of the masculine heart: the fears about the future that keep him awake at night, the untold stories that shaped his soul, the dreams he thought life had buried, the places where he feels inadequate despite his strength, and his tender vision of growing old together. Each of these shares represents a different key to understanding how a mature man reveals his deepest love. These shares don't happen all at once, and they don't happen just because you want them to. They unfold gradually, in moments of safety and trust, when a man feels truly seen and accepted for who he is, not who he thinks he should be or who he was decades ago. Your role in receiving these sacred shares isn't to fix, analyze, or even respond with equal vulnerability. Your role is to witness, to honor, and to create the kind of safety that allows a guarded heart to slowly, carefully open. When you do this, you're not just deepening a relationship, you're participating in one of the most beautiful aspects of human connection, the courage to be truly known. If a man in your life has shared any of these sacred territories with you, recognize the profound gift you've been given. If you're hoping for this kind of intimacy, remember that it can't be rushed or demanded. It can only be cultivated through patience, acceptance, and your own willingness to be authentically yourself. Notice the moments when the men in your life show you glimpses of these deeper territories. Instead of brushing past them or trying to lighten the mood, pause, create space. Let them know that their vulnerability is safe with you. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below your thoughts or experiences, and subscribe to the channel for more insights into love, connection, and the human heart. And finally, let me leave you with this. The men who share these deepest parts of themselves aren't perfect. They're human. Thank you, and see you again.